like Harvey Milk said, I am here to organize you. I am here to coach you in buttonholing, in political strategizing, and how to speak in quotes. Do they care about me? No. They care about you. What are the 2 rules for politicians? Always get re-elected. Never forget the first rule. A famous person said, there are only 2 things that matter in politics. One is money, and I can't remember what the second one is. We usually don't have money, right? But what we have is the ability to change elections through the power of the vote. But most importantly, we have the ability to shape the way that people think. EPA is concerned that over the past 17 years since the 1992 GEIS was written, the quote, existing environmental conditions in New York have changed sufficiently that using the information from that report as a baseline for the draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement will not take into account the cumulative impacts from habitat fragmentation, population increase, and blah, blah, blah. That says don't use the GEIS. So we've got to kill the draft with EPA's help, and that's why we're all here today. This is August 5th. This was the little event that many of you showed up at. Thank you, Elaine and then Marcus, for giving me a heads up. And on 4 hours' notice, we got 50 people, but most importantly, we got the entire half of the front page. And as you know, Andrew Cuomo's news event, he got like 20 seconds of coverage. We got like 12 minutes. Martin O'Hassett was a famous 19th century lord from Boston. His famous edict was, never write when you can speak. Never speak when you can nod. Never nod when you can wink. Andrew Cuomo could wink, and this would go away. Why would he do that? He wants to get elected. And so if we had this many people in Montour Falls this afternoon, if we had more people than this or this number in Penn this evening, he would have a brutally bad day. He would have an intense migraine headache. And what would happen? He would begin to think, uh-oh, that little schmuck actually meant what he said about bird dogging me in every community where I show my face. Introduce a true hero of our fight, Barbara Lifton, our Assembly representative. That the legislature is sympathetic to our cause, and I respectfully beg to disagree. However, there are some key legislators who are highly sympathetic to our cause, and that includes Barbara Lifton. But more importantly, she has gone to the wall. She has shed political blood. She has fought against leadership to try to move these efforts forward.
Thank you, everybody. I really just came to thank you for all the critical work you're doing. My work inside the legislature is certainly difficult, but I can't do anything without all the effective political strategizing, getting out in force, coming to Albany, getting those emails into offices, meeting with legislators in their districts, all the wonderful things you've been doing. I am powerless without the power of all of you and all the people you've mobilized in Albany. So it takes that inside-outside strategy that I've talked about before, and we've all done it very well together, and I thank you very, very much.
Let me say one thing about the bill. As you know, there is a moratorium bill that passed the Senate. It is now very likely to pass the Assembly. Its fate with the governor is uncertain, but the bottom line is that even if it gets adopted, it would only hold off the drilling until next May 15, 2011. So that would not prevent the DEC from adopting this fatally flawed draft, and then they could be ready to go by next spring. So our main thing, kill the draft, that solves a multitude of our problems. By the way, if the draft gets withdrawn and the scope gets rewritten, it could go into the deep freeze for 10 years easy. In 1992, GEIS took 12 years to adopt. So the longer we push this off, the longer the de facto Marcellus Shale Horizontal Hydrofracking moratorium stays in place. There are issues that we can attack, but all of you, when you go there, if you see him anywhere else, number one, be respectful, because he is very likely to be the next governor. And he's a good guy, but what is the rule? Politicians, even the ones we really love and treasure, they basically are barometers. They respond to pressure. So the rule is reward your friends, punish your enemies. People that want to help us, that's great, but then you got to nail them down. The devil is in the details. So how is Cuomo going to implement this policy that he would not support any drilling that would threaten the state's major source of drinking water? Our drinking water comes from 6 Mile Creek, so that's a 300-foot setback, that's nothing. And southern Cuba Lake, 30,000 people drink water from Bowling Point. That's again a 300-foot setback. I got data that shows all of these problems, and some of them went 8,000 feet. So you got to do your best. You are the sharpshooters of our movement. You can say anything, you can do anything within reason, okay? And try to get a deal out of them. But please don't be disruptive if you can avoid it. So try to nail him down. Now, he is a total political pro. He is going to be like, Yoda dodging, laser bullets. He's going to just blow your mind. He's going to know every trick in the book. But I urge you, get in the ring with him. Go toe to toe. Try to nail him down. And I'm going to help you.
What's the question we should ask him if we get inside?
Attorney General Cuomo, thank you so much for coming to Ithaca. I've lived here for X number of years, and I believe my community is worth fighting for. So I read your statement, and I see that you would not support any drilling that would threaten the state's major sources of drinking water. Well, that's not provided in the Department of Environmental Conservation's draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement. The mere fact that you can say that will blow his mind. He will start to sweat. How, Candidate Cuomo, do you propose to implement that policy, given that the Department of Environmental Conservation could adopt its final supplemental generic environmental impact statement? In fact, you can say that week more time. Any day, tomorrow, next week, by the end of the year. What is your plan? If you believe that there's inadequate protection of drinking water, you believe these waters is sacrosanct, we want to know, enlighten us. We're making our decisions about who to vote for, who's going to represent the state of New York, who's going to protect our health and our environment. The EPA says that the draft is totally inadequate. What are you going to do?
Thank you, Walter.
This is where this problem is at. This is in our hands. This is not an economic problem. This is not a legal problem. This is not a technical problem. This is a political problem. This is $2 trillion. And those industries want it. The same companies that didn't care about the Gulf, they're not going to care about our homeland. They're going to drill every square mile. They're going to send that wastewater to Auburn, to Watertown. They sent 3 million gallons to Cuba Heights. So we can't wait for salvation. We can't wait for some kind of monumental landmark study. We've got to go hard to the net. Put the puck in the back of the net. Kill this stupid grant.